Masters in the art of war, advanced in engineering, architecture, and just about everything you can think of, the Egyptians were one of the first civilizations that carried out large projects. Together, we'll travel to the past to see how they lived, what their world was like, and how they came to build the epic pyramids. Join me on this journey to the past, and let's explore the fascinating life of the Egyptians in 1300 BC. You wake up in the distant lands of the Egyptian Empire, and you're surrounded by jewels, exotic food, and enjoy a high-ranking position in society. You are the Pharaoh of Egypt. Since you have the top job and are very important, you're the first to wake. In general, the pharaohs got up before dawn, and although some believe otherwise, they followed a strict personal hygiene regime because they believed that this maintained spiritual purity. The pharaoh would then proceed to carry out his tasks for the day, which, since he was the reigning monarch, were many. Amongst other things, the pharaoh had to administer and manage his government, review the tax count from which revenue would be derived, organize construction projects, and arrange meetings with other rulers from distant lands. One of his key duties was to oversee religious matters, such as rituals, offerings to the gods, and the building and renovation of temples. The pharaoh was important because he was regarded as the intermediary between the gods and humans. Another of the pharaoh's jobs was to take charge of the army, since unlike other civilizations, it was the pharaoh himself who devised military strategies and the defense of the kingdom. He was also in charge of campaigns for territorial expansion. Now, you're probably wondering, do I really want to be a pharaoh if I travel to the past? With so many obligations, it would be a daunting task. But on the other hand, you could enjoy being a pharaoh with a myriad of opportunities for leisure and pleasure. To relax, the pharaoh would attend music and dance events, staged exclusively for him. The players skillfully manipulating instruments like the lyre, the harp, and the flute. If the day or night was right, the pharaoh could take a boat ride through one of the best places in the world, along the Nile River. Something else that shouldn't be missed were the specially staged theatrical performances. These spectacular dramatizations told compelling tales of, among other things, religion, past wars, and battles. Something strongly reflected today, thousands of years later, in the form of our movies and TV series. If you were to travel to this Egyptian past, you'd best land in the shoes of the pharaoh, or at least one of his most loyal and rich subjects, because otherwise you might end up a slave. Being a slave in any historical period is never good, but Egyptian-era slaves had it particularly tough, being forced to perform tasks that demanded immense strength and endurance. We are in the historical moment where great temples and pyramids were built. A law called corvia, imposed on both Egyptians and foreign slaves, forced them to work on any project that the pharaoh wanted. This was particularly tough when harvests failed and food was scarce. Hundreds of thousands of Egyptians were summoned to carry out the pharaoh's will without a thought for their hunger or any possibility of refusal. A really hard historical period to travel to if you landed on the wrong side of society. Another peculiarity of this Egyptian period was the advanced mummification carried out. After centuries' practice, they perfected their techniques to a point where many of the mummies they made remain intact to this day. Both people and animals were mummified, the latter as symbols of worship and offerings to the gods. Humans, on the other hand, were mummified in accordance with the Egyptian belief that death was just a transition and the body had to be kept in excellent condition so that people could have an efficient journey after death to a new life. Although many are unaware of it, the Egyptian era was one of history's most advanced civilizations. They amassed a wealth of knowledge that allowed them to have dozens of generations of pharaohs and to control a vast kingdom. However, despite this sophistication, life was not easy for the ordinary citizen who had to do heavy work or at least trade as a merchant. Although everything was preferable to being a slave, wouldn't you agree? But setting the hardships to one side, it's still important to study the Egyptian era because it's full of curiosities and shows what humans can achieve with teamwork and a lot of ingenuity. We hope you enjoy our content. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then join us in our next video to enjoy more content like this.